vocal tone is like, in my opinion, and I want to know yours. I mean, I already do know yours. We talk about this all the time. But I think in like popular music, vocal tone is probably the most important component next to emotion and style, because of how good things like autotune have become and like the nature of recording in the studio. I'm not saying I like that, but it's just the truth, right? Like, if somebody wants to create hit songs right now, like they should really focus on their vocal tone.
I agree.
And now, I think one thing that somebody could do like today that doesn't have to do with like techniques and all this stuff, like you could like do this for free right now, would be listen to 3 of your favorite singers and journal out what you like about their voice and get like really detailed.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you even explain it? Because you did that to design your voice. And a lot of people don't realize it can be really helpful at the beginning to mirror people that you like.
Right.
To then take some of the best, leave the things that you don't like,
Yeah.
to then bring that into your own vocal tone.
Right, I agree. Yeah, and to your point, I think every good singer that focuses on their tone, what they're doing is they're finding they're structuring their vocal identity. Like, I feel like your tone is like your identity as a singer. For me personally, I had a hard time finding my tone. I was like, how do you find your tone? Like, is it your speaking voice? Like, what is it? And I personally didn't like the sound of my voice when I would sing, like my voice, and a lot of times people get it confused with your speaking voice. So your speaking voice should sound like your singing voice. It was all confusing to me. But one thing I knew for sure was that I loved, Whitney Houston's voice. And there was things about her voice that I loved. And I was like, if I could have that, like, I would feel like I would be set. Mariah Carey, there was aspects to her voice that I really loved and I admired. So and then Celine Dion, and there's a few others, but those 3, I basically did what you are saying to do, is you could journal out, or you could just like think about what is it about their voices that you love so much? Like what draws you in? And then just begin to
experiment
and study and explore. And really, I think the word experiment is great, because you are experimenting, you're just trying different things, and nothing is right or wrong. It's just like structuring your own unique sound. I think that's definitely a way to do it. And I think part of that was like tuning my ear to hear those variables and those aspects of their voices that I love so much.
And it's in the details, right? I mean, and that's why we talk a lot about like journaling or just really listening in depth, because there's so much stuff that you might love that you might not even pick up unless you're really like, they're focused on the voice.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that we can learn from our favorite singers.
Right.
And I think that that's something that a lot of people like forget to do, and definitely something that anybody could do, like just real quick today, and just, write out some things and start experimenting. And just see what happens, and see if you can add some of those sounds into your voice. And obviously, we can work to actually help develop those sounds, because it's one thing to know you want the sounds, and it's another thing to like be able to create the sounds.
Exactly. And there's no way to like copy or replicate. And the goal is not to replicate those singers, but even if you wanted to, you could pull the best things from their voice that they're able to do. You still couldn't sound exactly like them, because you explain it so well.
Everyone's got a different skull.
Yeah, so it's
everyone's got a different throat and mouth. Everyone's got different vocal cords genetically.
Right.
It's like a fingerprint. Like everyone's voice is unique.
Yeah.
So you're not saying to
you can't
copy.
Replicate originality. Like what's original for Whitney Houston? What comes naturally for her?
You're never going to sound just like her.
I'm never going to sound just like her, no matter how hard I try.
But you can take a lot of good things from her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that is definitely a great way. I agree. It's definitely a good place to start. And what's interesting is I ended up finding my own unique sound by doing that. So it's not like I sound just like this person, just like this person. It's when people hear me, they might be able to hear like, ooh, what you did there kind of reminded me of Whitney, or reminded me of Mariah, but it's not like you sound like her. It's like you sound like you, but you could tell that I studied those people. That makes sense, you know?